presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Well, it is another picture-perfect night weather-wise for baseball. And we're at SunTrust Park in Atlanta. Game 2 of this 3-game series. The Reds and the Braves, and Cincinnati a winner in the opener last night. And hi again, everybody, alongside the Cowboy, Jeff Brantley and Jim Day. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball. We told you in the pregame show last night, the Reds so far are the highest-scoring team in the National League here in the month of August. And my, oh my, have they had some big innings on this road trip alone the last 2 days.
Well, I think any time that you can give your offense a chance to relax and swing the bat, especially the way this offense had done. We've talked about this since the beginning of the season. But you start to look at what the Reds have done here lately. I mean, this is not just getting a couple of hits. This is putting runs on the board dramatically. And I think as you pitch, you come to the mound, I don't care if you're a veteran or if you're a young guy, and you know the Reds can do something like this, boy, that would really make me want to get out there and throw strikes and get the ball down in the strike zone.
All right, the young man who's trying to do exactly that tonight is back in the rotation after a trip to the disabled list, and that's a former #1 pick, Robert Stevenson.
Yeah, I think with Robert, Tom, pitching out of the bullpen has given him a little bit more aggressiveness. He had an awfully good start in Pittsburgh. It was a 5-inning start. He only gave up 1 run. I think the big key with Robert is keeping that ball right down below the strike zone at the bottom of the kneecaps. That's what he did in the game against Pittsburgh. He's added the slider, gone away from the curveball. He's always had a good changeup, but you don't go to the changeup if you can't first control the fastball.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the ledger, Julio Teheran, the Atlanta starter, is young, but he's been around for a while. What's hard to figure, and I'm sure the Braves are wondering the same thing, is why he's so good on the road and so bad here at home.
I think sometimes you can have one bad ball game at home and things start to snowball. And one of his starts early in the season against the Nationals, things did not go his way. Gave up a couple of really long home runs to Bryce Harper, one of them being a grand slam. And all of a sudden you think, well, every time I pitch here, things don't go my way. It's a mental ball game. You've got to figure it out. Use the same mental tenacity that you have on the road, and goodness, he's been good on the road.
All right, when we come back, we're going to send it downstairs to the main man on the Reds beat. Today, not talking about Joey, but today talking about the man who's been cleaning up behind him. That would be Adam Duvall. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Weekend set, Reds and Braves coming up on Fox Sports Ohio. Last season, Adam Duvall surprised Major League Baseball with his power numbers, and he's backing them up this year, now with 29 home runs and 85 RBIs on the season, trailing Joey Votto in RBIs by only 1. And on this road trip, very well. 4 home runs, 8 RBIs on the trip. His last 6 home runs have all been 2-run home runs, including last night that really propelled a 3-home-run inning in the 6th. Afterwards, though, the handshake with his teammate, well, Votto kind of left him hanging. Take a listen and a look.
You know, I was all in right there, and, you know, I go to give him a fist bump, and, you know, he pulled the old psych on me, and, you know, but I was all in, and he wasn't, so I guess you see how that goes.
Well, we have to improve international relations here. 1 Canadian, 1 American, and let's flash back to May 28th where they really couldn't get on the same. I was like, hey, don't leave him hanging. Couldn't get on the same page, not once, but twice. But it doesn't matter. That's after the fact. The results are what matters, and he's putting up the numbers again, as is Joey Votto. Reds going for a series victory tonight in Atlanta, and 3 of a kind they would like. It would be their 3rd straight victory overall. Up next, Tom Brenneman and the Cowboy Jeff Brantley with the call.
Ohio, brought to you by Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your tri-state Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. Welcome to SunTrust Park. Game 2 of this weekend series. Another big crowd. They have MC Hammer playing after the game tonight. Reds looking for a little hammer time in this series after a big win last night. Hoping they can say about this lineup, what, Cowboy? Can't touch this.
Well, that's what Robert Stevenson is hoping to say.
Brought to you by Menards. Hamilton, Peraza at short, Votto at first, Duvall in left, Jeanette at second, Suarez at third. A latter third of Schebler, Barnhart, and Stevenson against Julio Teheran.
Well, Teheran, awfully good start in Colorado his last time out. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, did not allow a run in Colorado. But the adjustment that he made out there was throwing a boatload of sliders. You throw that many sliders in a start, you wonder, okay, how is the arm going to respond 5 days later? Well, we're about to find out.
All right, so here we go. Billy to lead things off. Hamilton, 51 stolen bases, 248 batter. And he swings to the first pitch, strike one, and this one is underway on just a beautiful, beautiful weather night again in Atlanta today. Very low humidity. I mean, remarkably low humidity and unseasonably cool. Beautiful night as Hamilton looks at a breaking ball in there to fall behind 0-2. And that's all for Hamilton. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night to start the game.
First pitch fastball. The next two pitches, a slower breaking ball, and then the slider. So maybe it's going to be a breaking ball night tonight. The Reds will have to adjust.
For the Reds, game 9 of the back-to-back 10-game road trips. They started last weekend. You may remember in Milwaukee, dropped 2 of 3 there. Split 4 against Chicago and won the opener here last night. The Reds first at this new SunTrust Park. Here's Jose Peraza. 5 straight strikes. And Peraza in there for Cozart after what happened to Cozart here last night, drilled on the left shin.
And it caught him flush on the bone. It appeared you could almost see the, well, not almost, you could see the bump rising up through his socks and through the Red Sox. I mean, even as he got to first base. I mean, we saw a pitch in Chicago that was seemingly more harmless than that, and it broke a bone on the foot of Devin Mesoraco. You get hit on the bone with a baseball, that's a problem.
First pitch out of the strike zone by Tehran. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes on Peraza. 262, 4 home runs, 33 batted in. Peraza came on defensively late in the game last night, had 1 plate appearance and bounced out to third base. Check in with Jim Day for more on Zach Cozart.
Well, his shin didn't respond to treatment as much as they wanted today, so they ruled him out of the starting lineup. He was limping pretty good around the clubhouse. He had a compression wrap around that shin. Brian Price said it would be literally an in-game decision whether or not he can pinch hit tonight. So we'll have to see on that one. But the way he was limping around the clubhouse doesn't seem likely. But he thinks he avoided serious injury, and Brian Price doesn't think right now it's going to be a disabled situation.
All right, Jimbo, thank you very much. Jim, I can't see you down there. Are you on the inside part of the dugout or the out? Oh, there you are. You're on the inside. You got the sweet seats down there. It's a very nice setup. Sometimes we go on the road and they put him at the end of the dugout, like they did in Chicago over the 4 days prior to getting here in Atlanta. Now Joey, ball 1 away. And Tehran already continuing to throw that slider.
Both strikeouts came on the slider. You get more swings and you get more commitment from a hitter when you can keep your fastball down there and you follow it in the same plane with the breaking ball.
Joey 1 of 4 in the game last night. We told you he struck out 3 times for the first time in a major league game since July of last year. It was only the 10th time in his major league career that's ever happened. So rare indeed. He did have a single and also drew a walk and scored a run. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Joey. The only pitchers that have struck him out twice in one game are A. Dickey and naturally Max Scherzer. Scherzer among the premier strikeout pitchers, if not the premier strikeout pitcher in the big leagues the last handful of years. And how about Tehran? He fans the side in the first inning. a look at their Menard starting lineup. It'll be Cincinnati in center field. Longtime Redleg Brandon Phillips now playing third base. Freddie Freeman at first. Matt Kemp activated off the disabled list before the game today. He's a cleanup hitter in left. Markakis in right. Kurt Suzuki starts behind the plate. Albies at second. Dansby Swanson at short. Tehran on the mound. Pitching in his 18th game this year, his 4th as a starter. One-time #1 pick from Martinez, California, is Robert Stevenson.
I think it'll be important early in this ball game for some success for Robert Stevenson. Not just pitch location, but getting quick outs, get that confidence going early. I think that's very important, especially for a young starter.
Stevenson has not started since August the 2nd. That was that game he pitched in Pittsburgh where he allowed 2 hits, 1 run in 5 2/3. The Reds took him out of the game in the 6th, and you'll take that all day, every day. 1 pitch and 1 out to Cincinnati. Look at the 3 starts for Stevenson this year. You know, you look at some of the numbers, and they may not look all that bad until you get to the far right-hand column. And when you consider that in 9 innings, he has walked 11 batters, and that was one of the things the Reds told him, you know, after starting the year in the bullpen, was to go down there and throw strikes. Now, he wasn't necessarily dominant. He wasn't even necessarily very good at AAA in regard to giving up hits and runs, but one thing he did do, which they told him to do in the minor leagues, was throw more strikes. And Brian Price and the organization, Dick Williams, the general manager, have told all these young pitchers, you throw strikes, we'll bring you back up. You don't, you won't. And that's why we've never seen Cody Reed and Amir Garrett. Stevenson at least did that. Now Brandon.
Well, if you can't command at least some semblance of the plate with regularity, then how in the world are we ever going to move from just a strike to a quality strike and then to a breaking ball strike and to the changeup? It is a process.
1 ball and 2 strikes. You know, the question is, how does it play out? You went into this season wanting to know by the end of the year, you know, which guys were going to step to the forefront and be part of your, theoretically anyway, your rotation for 2018 and beyond, as Phillips has gone on strike, 2nd out of the inning.
That pitch there from Robert Stevenson has always been an awfully good pitch. The changeup, you can throw a changeup and get a strikeout like this, that tells you you've got some action on it. But the reason that you get a swing on that pitch is because you're able to throw your fastball for a strike earlier in the count, or at least show some command of it throughout the ball game.
2 down for the Atlanta first baseman Freddie Freeman. You know, right now the Reds are pitching with 4 rookies in their rotation. But we were starting to talk about all those youngsters, much heralded youngsters, and Reed and Stevenson and rookie Davis and Amir Garrett. You know, the Reds don't have an answer on any of those pitchers about what next year might bring. We'll talk more about that throughout the game, and the ball is dropped by Stevenson. So that will not be the final out of the inning.
He actually got to the bag quicker than he thought. Looked like he hit the bag with his foot and then tried to catch the baseball, or they arrived at the same time.
That's why Mark Grace used to say all the time, if you have the time,
break it down when you get to the bag
and get it to the pitcher as fast as you can, so then they can catch the ball and then worry about finding the bag. So it should have been a 1-2-3 inning. Now all of a sudden, as Atlanta with runners at first and second base and 2 out.
This is 4 straight batters that should be outs. That's a ball you have to catch if you're a major league shortstop.
And getting back to that play before it, though, you could see with all that loft that was in that toss from Votto to Stevenson, Stevenson's trying to watch the flight of the ball where he's already gotten to the bag so fast. But the ball and the bag and the foot finding the bag are all at the same time. As opposed to firm, catch, now find it, right? Or play it like a first baseman, get to the bag, then get it.
Exactly. You have to know where the bag is as a pitcher when you're heading that way.
This ball in the air, Hamilton will go get it. So that's a 5-out inning. Only 3 of them count. 2 errors. No score at the end of one. By Foyd. Told you about Kemp coming off the disabled list before the game tonight, so he's out and left. And Brandon Phillips, 15 straight games he has started down at third base since they told him to make the move from second over to third. And he's played it well. We saw him make a couple nice plays. One really nice play late in the game last night.
Especially the play that he went into foul territory and then threw a bullet across the diamond.
I'm sure that is a continuously running conversation between a couple of guys that like to talk down there with Brandon Phillips and his longtime buddy and coach Billy Hatcher. They both like talking. And both easy guys to talk to.
Maybe Billy can distract him a little bit. Especially with Duvall up there and turn on a rocket.
Reds batting here in the second inning of a scoreless game. Duvall to be followed by Jeanette and Suarez. Tehran struck out the side swinging in the opening inning. 14 pitches, only 2 out of that strike zone.
Well, right now for Tehran, he is in a groove. He's working quickly. He's throwing strikes. And the Reds have got to do something to make him a little uncomfortable.
You know, sometimes those home numbers and road numbers, you pointed it out earlier, Cowboy, where one start because of the, you know, the number of earned runs as opposed to innings pitched. You know, it's over the course of a full year. We're not quite at a full year, so they're starting to get a little bit. They can earlier in the year especially, but you know, that one start. Now the win-loss record, you know, some of those are within his control. Some of them, as we know, are not. You know, some of those games where maybe you pitch pretty well and your team doesn't score. I mean, much like his last game. He went 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs in Denver, and didn't even get a decision. But when you have some of the starts here at home, 7 runs in 4 innings against Washington, we brought that up earlier. Gave up 7 in 3 innings against Milwaukee. Gave up 8 runs in another start, so he's had his problems. But on the road, he has been lights out. The home run ball's killed him. He's allowed a career high 28 of them. And that's the 5th most in all of baseball.
Now, there are a lot of guys that have given up home runs that don't normally give up home runs. But when you start hitting career highs, that ERA is going to take a jolt.
Well, there are going to be a lot of guys that give up career high numbers of home runs in this baseball season, and a lot more of them that will hit career highs in home runs because of the way the ball is flying out of the ballpark at a record pace here in 2017. It's been a hotly debated topic. The commissioner was really pressed about it during the All-Star break, asked over and over by the press, was there some conspiracy in baseball? He said, look, enough people couldn't keep that quiet even if we tried to do it. There's a pop-up, and it's caught in right field. But there is something going on. Now, what it is, if you're one of those conspiracy theorists and you're going to buy into that, so be it. Have at it. But something is going on this year. The numbers just don't lie. I don't know what it is.
What I do is look at some of the better pitchers in the game, i.e. Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer. Their home run numbers are up, especially Kershaw's, and he's pitching in a ballpark. That's a pitcher's ballpark.
So now the batter, Scooter Gennett. Pulled a string on him there, and it's fouled away by Scooter. 20 home runs, 70 runs batted in. I mean, this is a prime example of a guy you just, randomly pick out any player you want in Major League Baseball. His prior career high was 14 home runs, and that's when he was playing every day. He's not been playing every day for this Reds team. He's played a lot, but he's not been playing every day until about the last 3 weeks. That one hooked into right field, a base hit, and that's the first Reds base runner.
As a matter
of fact, base hit for either team.
For Gennett, he had more home runs coming off the bench than he has playing every day.
Looks like he may have tweaked something in that right arm.
It may have tweaked it on that swing on that changeup because he was coming out of his shoes. Now, this is a guy who's been swinging the bat pretty well as of late.
Eugenio Suarez, he's also walking a lot more of late.
Much more patient.
Yes. Suarez on this road trip is by far the best Reds hitter. Just batting average. His batting average is .435 on the trip. He has 4 doubles, a home run, 6 bat in, and a whopping 11 walks. I mean, just to compare, give you an idea. Votto on this road trip has walked 12 times. Suarez 11. That's more walks in the past than you see Suarez have in a month.
I agree. But I also think he's starting to understand that there are certain pitches that I'm going to look for early in the count. I'm going to drive them. If they're not there, I'm taking it. And all of a sudden he realizes, hey, it's a lot easier to hit 3-1-2-0 than it is trying to swing at a pitch that's 6 inches off the plate.
One and two on Eugenio Suarez. Runner at first, 1 out. And there's that slider and a delayed steal now by Gennett. And he's out by 10 feet. So that's a strike him out, throw him out, double play, which will end the inning. 4 strikeouts for Tehran. Middle of the second. No scores. Presented by Ford. Scott Schebler, welcome back from the disabled list. Schebler activated just before the game tonight. Last started on the 30th of July in Miami with a left shoulder strain. We showed you that injury when it occurred, and it occurred long before he went on the disabled list. It was against these Atlanta Braves in June.
Yeah, he played a long time with a shoulder much less than 100%. I don't think he wanted to say anything. He just wanted to try to see if he could work through it, and it just didn't happen.
All right, so no score in the game. Two Braves reached on Cincinnati errors in the first inning. One by Stevenson, the other by Peraza, but Stevenson able to pitch around. In fact, Robert only threw 9 pitches in that entire first inning.
You just don't normally see the Reds make a couple of errors in the same inning.
Well, the way they play defense most of the year, it's rare to see that many errors in a single game. They've been that good on defense all year long. Among the top 2 or 3 defensive teams most of this season in the National League. That ball is scalded into left field, and that will fly over the head of Duvall and then shoots back towards the infield. And that will be a 2-base hit by the catcher Kirk Suzuki.
Pitch is down. It tails back in. Suzuki right on it. Watch this ball come off the wall. I mean, whoa.
It looked like Duvall hit a sheet of ice.
Yeah, you're in a new ballpark. You start to learn it real quick. Ball comes off the wall here. Those are new pads, and they bounce.
See, now you don't have to worry about stepping on that black ice and then all of a sudden the next thing you know, that feeling, and everybody who, you know, grows up or lives in areas with cold weather, they know that fleeting second or 2, fraction of a second of helplessness when your feet hit that ice and you don't know what's going to happen. Down in Mississippi.
Well, we have black ice. We have the ice. We just don't have a whole lot of snow.
Well, I thought you meant maybe you just colored the ice shed like in the freezer.
No. No, it's on the streets, on the bridges.
Really?
Yes. Ashley and I were laughing about that today because we were here last year in Atlanta just after New Year's Eve. Walking over to the mall. Down goes Cowboy.
Really?
Yeah.
Scary, man. Really get hurt. Yeah, I've been in this town when it's been pretty nasty. 0-2 on Albies, and he's going on strike.
Good changeup. Good arm action. Well located changeup. And you get an awfully awkward swing. So far, Stevenson has kept the ball down in the strike zone. And I think that's his goal coming into this ball game. Not about the strikeouts, just about getting outs, getting them quickly, and trying to hit the mitt of Tucker Barnhart.
Well, he's faced 7 batters and only thrown 15 pitches. And 2 of those batters are strikeouts, so there's 6 right out of the gate. A lot of early swinging by these Braves. Ball 1 to the number 8 hitter. Former number 1 pick of the Arizona Diamondbacks came over to Atlanta in the Shelby Miller deal. That's Dansby Swanson.
Well, Swanson has done better shooting the ball the other way.
Swanson played collegiately at Vanderbilt. He grew up in Marietta, Georgia, and still makes his home in Nashville, Tennessee. He's only 23. He turned 23 about a week before players reported to spring training, so he's still very, very young. But the question is, when's that proverbial light come on? I mean, he rushed up to the big leagues last year. His first pro season was in 15. You got to keep that in mind. Went single A, double A, and then to the big leagues. And that's not a guy who's hitting in the 215s you want to be walking. So that's 29 walks in 43 innings of work so far this year, bullpen and starting.
Well, you can see Tucker go out immediately. Anytime you miss well off the plate with a fastball away from your arm side, you'd like to be able to make the adjustment right then so that the next pitch doesn't carry over. Well, all four of those pitches had something wrong with them mechanically. That's the reason they were out of the strike zone. So if Stevenson doesn't see it, Tucker's trying to get out there and make sure, all right, let's get back to what we were doing in the first few batters of the ball game.
Tehran has 9 sacrifices this year, so he's a very good bunter. And you can see he already has excellent form up there. Now he pulls the bat away for some reason on a pitch right down the middle. I think he's wondering why he did it. But he gets way up closer to the pitcher. He's completely squared around with that bat level.
We saw that with R.A. Dickey last night. Front foot right on the front line of the batter's box. The bat well out in front. That way when you make contact, the ball is in fair territory.
Good play there by Barnhart. After looking at that replay, I tell you, Tehran looked like he had a pretty good reason to wonder about that call. Thought that was a little higher from where we're sitting, and we're sitting at, well, very near the top of this ballpark. That's Jim Reynolds, the crew chief, calling the balls and strikes tonight.
Oh, look out. I got the bat, but I guarantee you that scared Tehran to death.
See where this hit. I'm with you. It sounded like the bat. Maybe it got his hand.
I think it got the bottom of the bat. And I think it scared the fool out of him.
Well, they're looking at a part of his hand. I don't know if that's the meat part down there at the end of a fist. Does he think he's going to first base?
I think he's trying to play it that way. But obviously they're going to look at it.
I was just starting to say, if the ball didn't hit him, then why is he laying down on the ground?
If the ball hits your hand, it's almost quick reaction. The other hand covers it. And that's how you almost know every time. They're either raising that hand up in the air and then they'll grab it with their other hand. There was no movement of either hand. He was just laying on the ground as if to be in shock. And anytime you get a 94-mile-an-hour fastball right at your pitching hand, yeah, you might be in shock.
The Braves are the ones that are asking them to take a look at this. It was called a foul ball. So, Tehran is so sure this ball hit him and that the evidence will prove that he's already walked to first base. The call on the field is a foul ball. Now this is another little thing that you wonder why this isn't tightened up a little bit more here, right? In terms of keeping things moving. If the call on the field is a foul ball, the batter should be standing at home plate with a bat in his hand.
And not at first.
That's right. They talk about wanting replay to last a certain amount of time. Let's see what happens.
I did not think that there was anything even in the live shot of that would suggest foul, that it hit his hand. And now Tehran is going to walk back after Jim Reynolds pointed and said, all right, let's go, let's go. Trying to get Tehran back in the batter's box.
And now he's got to put his batting gloves back on.
I think he's still in shock. Look, when you square around to bunt and that ball runs in on you like that, that'll put your adrenaline in overload. May not want to bunt again.
Well, I've got a stopwatch on this since they gave the signal on what it was. We are now knocking on the door at 55 seconds before Tehran is going to step in there, and now we're at a minute to get back in the box. And it'll be another 15 before Stevenson gets a sign and actually delivers a pitch. And then he fouls it off for strike 3. So that's a third strikeout for Robert.
It's a good pitch call by Tucker Barnhart. Threw the curveball, started it right at him. You already got a hitter that may not want to bunt to begin with. And you start that breaking ball right at him, he's thinking, oh, here we go again. And then just stabs at it in foul territory.
All right, so 2 down and back to the top of the order we go. And Ender Inciarte swung at the first pitch of the game and bounced out to Joey Votto. Braves stranded 2 in the first. They have 2 on here in the second with 2 out. No score. An excuse me roller. What a play by Scooter Gennett. The glove flip and the out call at first. Outstanding play made by Scooter Gennett. That was the only chance he had.
Experience here, the glove experience, where you can go here at SunTrust Field and you can basically get a glove, and as long as you return it at the end of the game, you don't have to pay a cent for it. So you don't have to carry your glove into the ballpark, but you can have one in the stands to catch a foul ball or a home run. Now you have the opportunity to buy a glove as well, and this is one of the display gloves actually. So if a foul ball comes firing over here, boys, I'm ready to play ball.
Wow, look at that ride.
That bad boy out.
Very nice. That's a great idea. You're right.
Terrific idea. Terrific idea.
Never heard that before. I wonder if any other ballpark or ball club is doing that. If they're not, they might be soon. What a great idea.
Do they have any of those gloves you could fill up with barbecue like that one Jim had?
Oh,
That way I can eat out of it and use it the same way.
they have gloves made out of barbecue.
Do they?
Yeah, and you just start chowing down and, you're ready to just get rid of it. You let it rip.
Yeah, they serve ice cream out of those little helmets.
Yeah. I mean, some of the creations they have in and around different venues in all the professional sports are pretty incredible. Depending on what part of the country you're in. And I'll bet you somewhere, maybe Kansas City. What do you think about that? Maybe some barbecue comes in a mitt. That's a big barbecue town, right? Kansas City.
So's Texas. Houston
Of
or
course,
Arlington, either
Texas.
one.
All right, no score. And there's ball 4 to Schebler, his first trip to the plate since coming off the All-Star break. Now, if anybody off the disabled list, if anybody's ever driven and done a lot of driving, Cowboy, you're a guy who likes to drive. I'm a guy who loves to drive. You and I have driven across country. I mean, but when you come down, especially a lot of people from the Midwest, when you come down south, maybe spring break, right? Family trip or a bunch of buddies in the old days, you're going to pass about 14,000 Waffle Houses, right? You ever had a waffle steak? They have a Waffle House restaurant in this ballpark. Now that is big league. Because if you've ever had a waffle steak, you'll stop at that Waffle House every exit.
Now, I've had steak and eggs at the Waffle House, but I don't know that I called it a waffle steak.
No, they have a waffle steak, a steak that sits on top of a waffle. And that one waffled down the third baseline. And on to third goes Schebler, and into second with a double is Barnhart. Good way to start it here in the third.
Where I live at, we eat chicken and waffles.
Yes, that's a big, that's a more known one, but the Waffle House serves that waffle steak.
Pretty good piece of hitting by Tucker Barnhart. Fastball sinking away. That was actually about 6 inches off the plate, but evidently Barnhart was looking that way, and he just goes right down the line.
All right, a big time scoring chance here. Doesn't get much better than this. Robert has 1 hit in 9 at bats. Behind 0-2 is Stevenson. Figures to get that slider here to try and put him away. Nope, throw him a fastball and fouled off out of play. You're almost doing the pitcher a favor if you throw him an 0-2 fastball.
Well, he threw those first two. They were in the mitt before he got his swing started. There it is.
5 strikeouts for Tehran. 1 out. Billy struck out on 3 pitches leading off the game.
You almost wonder with the camaraderie that Hamilton and Phillips had back when Brandon was a Red, if Billy would just really like to bunt one down the line and beat it out just to say he did. Just that mano-a-mano competition. Brandon's not playing way in, but he's in a bit.
0-1 on Hamilton. We were talking in Chicago. Hamilton, with all his speed, and you can argue whether you like the bunt as a play to try and get a hit or not. We've on the television side, talked a great deal this season, and given some of the numbers of Brett Butler, who didn't run nearly as well. And in the latter stages of his career, he'd have been, 8, 10, 12 years older than a Hamilton is now. This will bring in a run. And the Reds take a 1-0 lead on the ground out by Hamilton, plating Schebler, and on to third goes Tucker. So a 1-0 game. But Hamilton's first 2 years in the major leagues, and you're always looking at players and you're saying, all right, year by year, how can this player or pitcher get better? What are things and areas you'd like to see them improve on? Hamilton, his first 2 years in the major leagues combined, had 27 bunt hits. The last 2 years, he has 11. This year, he has 4. So is it a case of, Hamilton is resigned to the fact that maybe he's better off swinging away than trying to bunt? Is it that he's just not a good bunter? Is it that he's not trying to improve on being a better bunter? I'm not sure I know the answer, but the numbers just don't lie for a guy who's unquestionably, and it's not even debatable, the fastest man in baseball. Here we are near the 3rd week of August, playing every day, hadn't been on the DL, and Hamilton has 4 bunt hits.
Well, the guy that you mentioned, I played with Brett, and he was an outstanding bunter, even with the third baseman playing in.
Fly ball to center. I'd like to hear you finish that thought when we come back. Reds take a 1-0 lead after 2.5. Regular season game. Now some blackout and restrictions may apply, but visit MLB.tv for all the answers and more details. How about Robert Stevenson so far tonight?
He's thrown the ball very well, and I think the recovery back in that first inning after a couple of errors, getting out of it and only throwing 9 pitches in that inning, a lot of it has to do with where those pitches are right now. Down in the strike zone. You pitch down, you get some chases.
Rays has stranded 4 through the front 2 innings. 25th pitch of the night for Stevenson. Brandon Phillips fouls it away. I want you to finish that thought you were starting on Brett Butler.
Well, we're talking about Butler versus Billy Hamilton, and as far as what bunting can do for your batting average, well, Billy's average has gone up, not bunting more. But I think with the type of speed that Hamilton has, as he gets more comfortable at the big league level, I think we're going to see him bunt more. I think the problem that you have. Whoa.
That's a laser to left field, and this game is tied.
Just to finish that thought on Billy Hamilton, I think the problem that you have a lot of times with players coming up trying to establish themselves, especially as a leadoff hitter, people are focused so much around batting average and on base percentage. Billy's just trying to do what he does, what he feels like he does best, and that's swing and try to get on. But I think as he matures as a player, he's going to realize that bunt is my greatest weapon because it will boost my average 60 points as long as he does it correctly.
There's a pop-up by Freeman and handled by Duvall. For Phillips, number 11. That's just center cut fastball.
Well, the problem that you have pitching is you have, if you imagine the size of an envelope, put an envelope up and down, and I'm talking about lengthwise, not the other way. You've got about 3 inches to play with there, maybe a little bit less. That's the room that you have to make a pitch from 60 feet 6 inches. If it's above the width of that envelope, that's what's going to happen a lot of times when the ball's in the middle of the plate. That's just where our game is right now. So if you miss, as we saw with Romano last night, you miss down. You don't miss back over the plate and up. It used to be where the 3, 4, 5 guys were up there to hit home runs. Madison Bumgarner is a pitcher. When he comes to the plate, he wants to take you deep. He's not looking about bunting. He's not trying to flare it out into right field. He's not choking up. He wants to hit it in the seats and embarrass you. That was a good pitch.
And an outstanding play made in left field by Duvall. He's been doing it all year long. Been doing it for 2 years. He is just an excellent defender out in left field.
Another changeup from Robert Stevenson. Caught off the end of the bat. Was not hit well. And if not for a great play, it ends up falling in for a hit. But because you get a great play, it reinforces, okay, I've got to throw my changeup because I've got him off balance with it.
It's so funny, and it's not to pick on the Giants, but it's just so interesting how, and you and I, Cowboy, have talked about this for years, and really until about just the last couple of years, and really only a couple of teams have really started to utilize versatility from the players they have on their roster or in their system. To think that the San Francisco Giants had Adam Duvall, and look, every organization has done it. He wasn't a great defender at third. He wasn't a great defender at short or over at first. But to think that they never gave him a chance in the minor leagues to at least try the outfield, because he's a pretty good athlete.
Very good athlete.
And to think that they never gave him that chance when really since Barry Bonds retired, every franchise has that black hole position. For the Giants, left field has been that position. And to think that they never gave him the opportunity to play in the outfield. And here he comes over with the Reds. They give him a chance, and he's driven in more runs than any outfielder in the National League the last 2 years. It's amazing. Along, by the way, with really good defense.
Duvall always had major power in the minor leagues, but he had high strikeout numbers to go with it. And I think the times that he had the opportunity with the Giants, it was off the bench or spot starts, an uncomfortable spot for a young player. There were some strikeouts and some big swing and misses. And I think they just kind of brushed it to the side without really researching it any further. And the Reds are the beneficiaries.
You know, when you talk to the Giants people about it, and they'll tell you, they'll say, look, we won 3 World Series in 6 years. They weren't interested in bringing up young players and giving them a chance to play. I mean, you know, like you said, he'd come up, maybe a spot start here, spot start there, maybe 2 in a row.
They were trying to catch lightning in a bottle.
Right, but they're not going to be patient with you. because they're trying to win the whole thing. So he really never got that opportunity.
You see Tucker go back out to the mound. We saw Robert Stevenson pulling off that front side when Dansby Swanson came to the plate back in the second inning. Walked him on 4 straight pitches. Barnhart straight to the mound. You get a walk of Nick Markakis on pitches, really pulling it back towards the left-handed batter with Markakis up there. First pitch to Suzuki. Barnhart not going to let that go any further.
It's 3 batters in a row now. Stevenson has started ball 1. And here he's 2-0 on Suzuki, who hit the ball very sharply for a double off the left field wall in the second inning.
When a guy hits the ball that hard, what you have to figure out in your mind as a pitcher, was it my location or was it the fact that I didn't throw the ball hard enough or execute the pitch? And for a young pitcher, the first thing that you think is, okay, I didn't throw the ball hard enough, and he hammered it to left field. So you try to overthrow, you try to do too much the next time up, and now where do you sit? It's 3-0. I'll take that pitch all night long.
Three and one on Kurt Suzuki. Runner at first, 1 in, 2 out. Short way for Suarez on the hard ground ball. The inning is over. 1-1 after the Phillips home run at the end of 3 in Atlanta.
Dodgers need more talent, but they acquired Curtis Granderson late last night from the Mets, added to their arsenal. And Manny Machado, 3rd player in the last 60 seasons with a 3 home run game, including a walk-off grand slam. Some guy named Joey Votto did it in 2012 and Chris Davis in 2016.
All right, Jim Day, thank you very much. That's good stuff. Yeah, Curtis Granderson, I would imagine with all that shuffling around they've had in the Dodger outfield and guys kind of up and down, that's what's really extraordinary about the Dodgers. I mean, you know, they're trying to make a run at having the best record in a single season in the history of Major League Baseball. And we saw them earlier this year, and you weren't really sure who was going to be in the outfield on any given day.
Heck, you weren't even really sure who was going to be starting as far as the pitching goes.
My, oh my, what a year they are having. The Dodgers winners of 5 in a row. 52 games over 500. 52. And they won again today, so make it 53. I beg your pardon. That was their 6th straight win. That's right. They played early on FS1 and beat the Tigers. So they are 87-34. Here it's 1-1, heart of the order in the Reds' 4th inning. Votto struck out his first time up. Hot smash, but they hadn't played perfectly. That's the shortstop. 1 out.
That's the first time in a while that we've seen a team play Votto to shift to the pull side, and they actually pitched him inside. A lot of teams will play 3 infielders on the right field side of second, and then they pitch him away, and then he hits it into the left center field gap or out of the ballpark.
It seems like the only team that has never varied, and this ball is kissed into deep center field, and this will be a 2-base hit for Adam Duvall. Seems like the only team that never varies on Votto in how they attack him is St. Louis. They pitch him in, it seems like, more than any other team the Reds play. And play him to pull.
And I would think that that's your best case scenario. Well, I mean, we've seen him drive the ball out of the ballpark to left field on pitches that were pitcher's pitches down and away. Problem is you've got to convince your pitchers that they can put the ball on the inside corner without overthrowing and let that ball leak back over the plate. And then he's really going to do some damage.
Here's Scooter. Reds have the go-ahead run out there at second base with 1 out in the 4th. Jeanette looped one into right field for a base hit his first time up.
He had an idea to bunt right there.
Well, if he just squared around and just laid that thing down the third baseline, he could crawl to first. Phillips is 15 feet behind the bag over there. And backing up.
Change up.
You know, we were talking about Brett Butler earlier. I recall reading an article before the start of the baseball season this year. And, you know, somebody out there will be able to look this up, the exact number, because I'm waffling a little bit. But Rod Carew, in one season of his career, with 2 strikes in the at-bat, had 14 base hits with 2 strikes. Bunt hits.
Well, what I used to see Brett doing every day during batting practice, it wasn't as though he would bunt the ball off the meat of the bat, you know, where you're trying to catch it to drive the ball. He wanted to bunt the ball off the last 2 inches of the bat. Now, granted, that takes special eyesight, it takes special hand-eye coordination, but what it takes is repetitive practice.
Well, you go back to 74, look who's at the top of the list, and that would be Brett Butler, 245 bunt hits. Think what that did to his batting average. If you go look.
And I would bet all of those guys could outrun him on that list.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. The only one that might be a flip of the coin would be Vizquel. But Pierre, Lofton, and Nixon, forget it.
And as I mentioned earlier, it really didn't matter if the third baseman was playing in. Brett could deaden the ball so well just outside of the dirt circle around home plate, get it into the grass, just enough away from the catcher, not close enough to the pitcher or the third baseman, and he'd beat it out.
Elk and Elk storyline as Jeanette draws the walk. Look where the Reds offensively, where they started the year 21st in plate appearances per walk ratio. And now all of a sudden #1, and look what's happened to the on-base percentage. From 15th in Major League Baseball all the way up to #8. And it's not just Votto, as we've talked about before. This guy right here. 11 walks on this road trip. Votto has 12.
I think you look back, too, at the Reds' offense early in the season. They were striking the ball with some regularity. And teams started to say, all right, well, we got to pitch around some of these guys.
There's a base hit, and that is overrun by the center fielder, Inciarte. Suarez is going to end up at third. Scoring behind Duvall is Scooter Gennett, and the Reds scored twice on what looked to be a routine single into left center field off the bat of Eugenio Suarez. 3-1 game.
That looked like Inciarte just got a little too aggressive. A good piece of hitting by Suarez on a spinning breaking ball. But Inciarte very aggressive and just overran the ball. And this guy's a Gold Glove center fielder.
So it is a single, a two-base error, 1 run batted in for Suarez, who's now at third with 1 out for Schebler, who walked his first time up. Two 2-0 on Schebler.
This is where you'd really like to get that run in from third. Not just because it gives you an extra run, but it puts a little more mental pressure on the guy on the mound and the guy in center field, and that was a rocket.
That almost decapitated the second baseman who was drawn in. Albies' head ball was hammered by Schebler, so they do indeed get the run in. Schebler, welcome back.
This is a part that Schebler had a difficult time doing when his left shoulder was hurting, and that is staying on top of the baseball and driving through it. What we were seeing with the shoulder problem is he would get on top of the ball, and then as he would just approach to make contact, he would lean back because he couldn't get full extension with that back shoulder. He got full extension there.
So his first game back here tonight since the 30th of July. And Schebler has drawn a walk, scored a run, and now not going to run with a single. You know, we talked a little bit last night about what are the Reds going to do looking down the road to next year. Talking about the third base position and the way Nick Senzel, their #1 pick last year out of Tennessee, is just tearing it up. Single A, high A, now double A, even better at double A than he's been anywhere this year. And you know, how far away is he from being with a big league club? What does that mean for Suarez? What does that mean at shortstop if Cozart's leaving, which more than likely will happen? And you know, you get into all that, and then you say, well, wait a minute now. What about right field? Winker is your #1 prospect, maybe #2 after Senzel now, but he's been #1 the last 2 or 3 years. You've given him a chance in the big leagues a little bit. They're both left-handed hitters, so you're not platooning.
Right.
It's another decision that those in the baseball operations department will be addressing, if not already. Hooked into right field by Barnhart. And here come the Reds again. We talked about their big innings, run-scoring innings the last couple of nights. It's the 7th inning on this road trip where the Reds have scored 3 runs or more in a half inning.
This will be an interesting spot for Tehran. Especially after he squared around the bunt and almost got one right in the face.
Stevenson has one sacrifice, and now he's behind 0-2. That's strike 3. All right, now, Cowboy, this is right up your alley. You are not going to miss the annual Sliding into on August the 26th, presented by St. Elizabeth Healthcare. You can do your yoga that you do every day down on the field. You'll get your exclusive Reds yoga mat. You got to have a good one of those. And that'll be on a Sunday. Sabbath. So you can come down there and what is that word? Namaste? Is that what it is? Is that what they say? Namaste.
Buddy, I don't know squat about yoga. I'll just go and tell you right now.
Sunday, August the 27th is the day for that. Namaste. All right. I was at least in the ballpark in Cowboy, maybe a little closer than you might have been on that one, you think?
I was the same place I was at that Flo Rida concert, at my house.
I really think you should open your mind and consider that. Good stretching for your body getting beat up all those years. Be good for you. You could even do yoga and have some ribs. 2-0 pitch, fastball away.
If I can do yoga at Montgomery Inn, I'm game on. They've got yoga down there. You can yoga right on out to my table.
3-0 on Hamilton. 2 on, 3 in, 2 out.
That'd be a real good look. You know, those real tight pants with my cowboy boots. Out there laying on that mat. I don't think so. Cut off shirt. I think I'll pass.
There's a fly ball into left field. And that'll be caught by Kemp to end the inning. Hey, I tell you, we got to make that happen. Get you out there and bring some ribs. Reds score 3, lead by 3.
He has been able to keep the Braves off the board, except for the one swing of the bat by Brandon Phillips. He's kept the ball down, breaking ball there. Really good changeups that we've seen early. And he's had some good defense to go with him. Check out that play by Scooter Gennett. And how about this one? A good pitch. And then you get a great result on a great play by Adam Duvall on a dive out in left field. Now you got to keep it up.
All right, here we go. It'll be Ozzie Albies, Danby Swanson, and Tehran. Now this is 7, 8, 9. Not to say that some of these guys can't hurt you. Obviously they can.
But you have to make them hurt you. The way you do that, get the ball in the strike zone.
He struck out on that changeup we just showed you a moment ago.
Oh, goodness.
And he hits him in the back.
That's where some of the problems, when things have gone a little bit sideways here early for Stevenson, pulling that ball way to the arm side. Instead of driving over the front shoulder, he's throwing around the front shoulder, and that has a tendency to get your fingers to the side and you carry the ball all the way across the plate. Now you put that hit batter out of your mind, you make the adjustment, and you get back to pitching.
All right, so the number 8 hitter is Swanson. He walked his first time up. So here to the number 7 hitter and the number 8 hitter. So far, 3 plate appearances, a walk, and a hit batter for Stevenson against the bottom part of this order, taking the picture out of the mix. Cubbies and the Blue Jays got together earlier today at Wrigley Field. Brian Giesenslaw standing in our studios in Cincinnati and tell you what went down in Chi-Town.
Here comes Tucker again. You can see it immediately after the hit batter. Stevenson with that rock back, not finishing the ball down in the zone. And that's something that Robert has got to be able to figure out on his own without the catcher having to come out every single time that you start to have a mechanical breakdown. You got to hand it to Tucker Barnhart. Every time you start to see things getting a little sideways, the mechanics get off towards the first base side, man, he is on it. And there's your pitch.
Good slider there. 2-2 on Swanson.
You can see it in release point. As soon as Barnhart went out, the next pitch, instead of being 96 miles an hour up around the letters, he stayed through the ball, got it at 93 right on the outside corner. A good 2-1 slider there.
This time Swanson lays off that same pitch. 3-2 with a runner at first and nobody out. Runner goes straight up into the air. And that ball continuing to carry. And Billy staying with it, wound up almost at the warning track. And speaking of the Cubs and the Blue Jays, here's our buddy Brian Giesenslaw. What's up, Brian? Yeah, Cubbies started the day. Thank you, Brian Giesenslaw. A game and a half better than St. Louis, who actually leapfrogged Milwaukee, who lost last night out in Denver for second place in the Central. Milwaukee 2 back, and will just be getting underway momentarily out in Denver again. The ball rolls into the dugout, and the runners will be at second and third base.
This is about as easy as it gets for a pitcher. The ball is bunted right back to you. But if you'll notice, Stevenson quickly to it, rapid fire, really trying to hurry. There's no reason to hurry there. The pitcher's not running full speed, number one. Number two, you have to set your feet and throw a strike. Don't take something off of it. Let it rip.
That ball did get a piece of Jeanette's glove. I mean, it wasn't like he threw the ball 5 feet wide of the bag. He's not going to be able to make that play.
No. Got a piece of the glove because he was lunging for it.
Yep, all his momentum going. He needed that glove Jim Day had. So now to make matters worse, Stevenson has fallen behind. That's Stevenson's second error of the game. You know, look, were it not for throwing some pretty good pitches in this game, everything else that they've been asking Robert Stevenson to do tonight, he's having a hard time doing it. Fielding his position, can't put down a bunt. You better really pitch good. If some of the other things you're not going to do very well. We're only in the 4th inning.
Well, the tough part about this being young pitchers, and we've seen it with a lot of our guys, the game will speed up on you in a hurry because you start to let that adrenaline take over. You start getting a little bit anxious on the mound, feeling like everything has to happen right here, right now, right here, right now. It doesn't. As you step off the mound, gather yourself, come back and make one pitch. And after that, then you make another. You and I were talking about it last night. You can't strike a guy out on the first pitch of the at-bat. So why try to? Make that pitch, relax, make the second. Once you get 2 strikes, then you can take a chance on a strikeout.
All right, so he fell behind 2-0 on Enciarte, did Stevenson. Now he's worked it back to a 2-2 count. Reds lead by 3, but Atlanta, thanks to a walk and an error, with runners at second and third. And this will bring in a run. Caught by Hamilton. The runner Albies tags up from third base, and that makes it a 4-2 game. So that was a nice comeback at bat for Stevenson there after falling behind 2-0. First time Stevenson struck out Phillips on a great changeup. The last time he left a fastball on the inner part of the plate, and Phillips hammered it over the wall down the left field line, his 11th home run of the year. Hey, Brandon's closing in on some really, really big career milestones. Of course, 99.9% of those accomplished wearing a Reds uniform. Started the night 17 hits shy of 2,000 for his major league career. Ground ball to short, so Stevenson retires the final 2 batters of the inning. The Braves get 1, and we go to the 5th. Reds in front by 2. Brought to you by Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together. And by your local Ford dealer, Ford. Go further. You know, Fox Sports Supports is proud to team up with the Girls on the Run and their dedication to empowering young girls and instilling confidence through running its great program. Check it out in and around your neighborhood and how you can get involved this fall, and visit foxsportsupports.com. We always send out a special hello to those watching over at Cincinnati Children's Hospital tonight up in Clifton. Hope you've had a great day today and pray for a better one tomorrow.
Quite a few Reds fans here in Atlanta.
Always have been. You know, the Reds games are not on just Fox Sports Ohio. A lot of the games are on Fox Sports Tennessee and parts of North Carolina and Virginia. So there are a lot of Reds fans, you know, going into Nashville and even deeper south into Tennessee that can make a short drive down here. Easy ride. Two, 3, and 4 in the Reds batting order against Tehran here in the 5th with a 2-1 lead. It'll be Peraza, Votto, Duvall. One shortstop to the other, and that's the first out here in the 5th. Well, Joey, his entire career has been bringing the energy, and right now no different thanks to IGS. 100 walk seasons in Reds history. Votto, 5 of them. The great Joe Morgan, the Hall of Famer, had 6. Votto picked up his 100th walk of this season last night. have a sneaking suspicion that he might get more than Joe.
It's almost to the point now where 100 walks for Votto is it's kind of like a given as long as he's healthy.
He's had such an incredible year again. In the second half he had last season, arguably the greatest second half of any player that's ever played the game of baseball. The numbers certainly back that up. There are some categories he might have been second best, another one he might have been third best, a number of them was first, because that one's pulled to the right side for the second out of the inning. But this year he's been doing it all year. He's having the best season of his major league career, and we haven't even hit September 1st yet.
And surprisingly, Tehran has handled him rather well tonight.
Well, the Braves have handled him well.
Last 2 balls were hit really in the same spot, right where Dansby Swanson was playing on the right field side of second.
What did we say? 1 for 4 last night, and now 0 for 3 tonight. And right through the heart of the order goes Tehran. That's well, he looked like he had a little more time to maybe plant and throw that ball. He tried to sort of Hollywood that thing. Don't know if he would have got it, but he had a better chance in doing it this way. They'll give Duvall a hit. That is really poorly played by Swanson in regard to talking to guys who tell you about, how to approach that ball.
I think over a period of time for a kid with the talent of Swanson, there'll be a little more of a plant in using that right arm accordingly.
Yeah, I think a healthy Cozart makes that play. You?
Yes.
A lot of teams, you'll see a shortstop make that play where when they actually make contact with the ball, their right foot is already planted. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's just experience over time.
All right, so perhaps an opportunity here. A 2-out single by Duvall, and now Scooter Gennett.
.52 runs allowed, earned runs allowed by Tehran now in 67 innings in this ballpark. He has steadily tried to keep the ball away from Gennett and away from his sweet zone, that middle end fastball. Looks like they're coming in here. And he got it.
And he got it. 7 strikeout for Tehran. 1 hit, 1 left. Middle of the 10th. Reds lead by 2. The first edition of the Tri-State Tailgate presented by Columbia Hyundai Genesis with Jeff Piecoro and the former UC star quarterback Tony Pike. Tri-State Tailgate debuts Thursday following Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio. Some people may not remember or may not know that Jeff Piecoro also played football collegiately at the University of Kentucky. Wildcat. And a Wildcat and a Bearcat. Football season kicking off in earnest. High school football in and around Greater Cincinnati next weekend. Started in Northern Kentucky last night and in Indiana. Robert Stevenson with a 4-2 lead. And this will take care of, we think, Freeman to begin the inning. You may remember he was the one to hit that ground ball that Stevenson dropped the feed from Votto back in the first inning. But this time they executed well. Stevenson's only allowed 2 hits in this game. One of them a home run by Brandon Phillips. And the other was a leadoff double back in the second inning where the Braves did not score. He's walked 2 and hit a batter. The only batter he hit wound up scoring. Good pitch there. Strike 1 on Kemp.
That slider from Stevenson is getting better and better. It's a new pitch for him. Just picked it up at the beginning of this year. He was always fastball, curveball, changeup in his minor league days. The slider that he's shown tonight has looked awfully good.
Two and one the count on Kemp. This is a sinking liner this time that will not be caught by Duvall. Sounded like he broke his bat from all the way up here, but it had pretty good contact, much better than the other, where Duvall made the diving stab on him back in the third.
Well, he gets it inside. But where Barnhart was setting up was outside. And that ball actually was about 6 or 7 inches in off the plate. You got in on the bat, but you still have a runner at first.
All right, so now Nick Markakis, who fly to center his first time up, hit it a long way. And drew a walk to Markakis in the third inning. Had a wild game last night in Pittsburgh. The Cardinals out slugging the Pirates 11-10. And another wild one tonight. 6-4 in favor of this go round of Pittsburgh. Buried him with a pitch up and in, a good fastball at 94, and that's about all Markakis could do with that. 2 outs in the inning.
He got Suzuki with a fastball down and away after falling behind 3-0 in his last at bat. Just not too many hitters that want to swing at a first pitch slider, even if it's not nasty. As soon as they see a little bit of bend to it, they're looking fastball, and they're looking for something that they can drive. So if you can get that breaking ball over the plate first, it doesn't have to be your A breaking ball. It's just got to be a strength.
Came back with a fastball, misses there. One and one on Kurt Suzuki. This guy's been around a long time. Came up originally with the Oakland Athletics. He's bounced around in subsequent years. With the A's for a long time, going all the way back to 2007 through the 2013 season. Most of those years he was their everyday catcher. Went to Minnesota, played regularly for the last 3 years after parts of seasons in Washington before going to Minnesota.
Another good changeup from Stevenson. Got Suzuki set up now. You make a breaking ball pitch that starts in the middle of the plate and gets off the outside corner, you may have him. And he went to it.
Yep, sure did. Popped in and out of the mid of Tucker Barnhart. Going out there again, same pitch. That slider down and away. Never started anywhere close to the strike zone there, so Suzuki just let it go. 2-2. Runner at first. Reds lead 4-2. Reds scored in the third inning. A walk, a double, and a ground out by Hamilton. Phillips homer to tie the game in the bottom of the inning. Reds got 3 in the fourth. RBIs from Suarez, Schebler, and an error. And then a hit batter and an error led to a sacrifice fly in the Atlanta fourth to make it a 2-run game. We are in the fifth. Three times in a row he's gone out there with that slider.
There's no doubt Suzuki is out in front of it. Now you got to put it right on the inside corner. You make the pitch. Pitch that Suzuki hit hard was a fastball that was up that he hit for the double in his first at bat, and that's still in the mind of Robert Stevenson.
It was a 9-pitch at bat after Stevenson had gotten ahead. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And now Mac Jenkins will slowly make his way out of the Reds' third base side dugout.
And I think for Mac here, this is probably as much of a breather type of meeting for Robert Stevenson. In other words, giving him a little time to catch his breath, a long at bat, a battling at bat by the catcher Suzuki. Got a hitter at the plate that's not swinging the bat very well at all. And you don't want to get in a position where you've got to be way behind in the count. You want to be aggressive with this guy and make him swing the bat.
So now you face Ozzie Albies after a lengthy at bat. Now, Cowboy, I want to go inside the lesson of pitching here a little bit. You talked about when he got ahead 1-2, go ahead and try that slider. He tried it. Foul tip ball into the mitt. Then you go slider, slider, slider again.
Well,
right? Well, let me just do, the point I'm getting at here, though. Suzuki is a career 250 hitter. Why would 4 of the last 5 or 5 of the last 6 pitches in an at bat, once a hitter got back into the at bat, why would they continue to be breaking balls?
Well, I think for Barnhart, because he knows who he's working with. I mean, you as a catcher, and you've been around a little bit, you know the mentality of the kid that's on the mound. And once you get to that point, especially after the fastball was hit into the gap for a double, you know that if you do call for a fastball in, which was really the right call after the 2 breaking balls away, if you call for it, he's going to overthrow it. So what Tucker did is he called for the fastball. They went away, and he overthrew it. He threw the ball way up and out of the strike zone. Boy, he was almost late getting to the bag.
Well, he gets out of the inning. That's the bottom line. So good work by Stevenson. Braves strand 2. They have left 8 on base through 5.
Is what they call beat the freeze, where a fan gets a head start on the freeze, and after the head start, watch the freeze run. This is a guy that used to play high school baseball, said he could lead the major leagues in stolen bases in no time. In fact, this weekend he said, I could beat Billy Hamilton straight up in a race. As he wins easily tonight, I went right to the source. Billy, you think he could beat the freeze?
I don't think he have a chance to beat me, to be honest with you. I just know for a fact that I've seen him get beat before, and then if one person can lose once, I'm pretty sure they can lose twice. So I definitely think I can beat him. I gotta give him credit. Guy's really, really fast, man. I've seen him run a few times, and it's amazing how fast the guy really is. But I still take my chances and put my money on myself on this race.
The one thing he did say is, I'm not sure I could run that fast, clear around the outside of the warning track in the outfield. He said 40 yards, though, it's all me.
It's hard to imagine anybody beating Billy Hamilton in a race. I mean, I know that guy can fly. I think I'd take Billy, too. What do you think, Cowboy?
I'm taking Billy.
And no doubt. That's what he's talking about down there now. They're all asking him. After watching that, they're asking him the same thing, Jim. Look at this play. Brandon Phillips on one end and Freeman on the other. Oh, goodness. Former Gold Glove winning second baseman. Gold quality down there at third, and Freeman pretty nifty to boot as well.
Now, you can talk about showboating. You can talk about, oh, well, he just wanted to do something fun. Well, I've watched Brandon Phillips practice catching those ground balls with his bare hand. Ever since I've been with the Reds. It's not something he just breaks out. He works at it.
A nice job by Freeman.
Sometimes you like to show your old team you still got it.
Sure you do.
You know?
Absolutely.
Can't blame the guy for that.
It's like in the old days, Cowboy, you know, when you were breaking hearts back in high school and at Mississippi State, and you'd see your old girlfriend.
I wasn't breaking any hearts, trust me.
You know, and all of a sudden you'd see that girl, you know, who you know, maybe told you on that rare chance to beat it. And, you know, you had to be looking good. And this is Phillips and Freeman, but
they were
Brandon
both looking good.
looking
right
good.
Couple of veterans breaking hearts.
You were down there in Starkville.
I was trying to figure out how to put my belt on.
And that was before you walked into Brooks Brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
1-2 on Schebler. He's had a nice return tonight.
You know, I like the internal competition. I think that's a good thing. You got a guy like Winker. You got a guy like Schebler. Irvin's come up and had a few good ball games. That pushes guys to be their best. That's what the major leagues is all about. Can you handle the heat or not?
We'll see if Irvin's in there tomorrow. You speculated that maybe we'd see 3 different starting left fielders in this series, and with a left-hander starting tomorrow, Irvin a right-handed hitter, and it would be nice to see him get a chance to play down here. He's from in this neck of the woods, and you know, not a hop, skip, and a jump, but it'd be nice. I'm sure he has friends and family down here when they found out that he was going to be making this trip with the team after he was called up. If you walk in our hotel, you know Billy Hamilton has friends and family here. Of course, they come to Cincinnati all the time, too.
Yeah, but Irvin is his place he grew up is closer than where Billy grew up.
Hope that young man gets a chance to play tomorrow. It'd be pretty cool for him.
I think he will.
That's served into left center field, and that baby will go to the wall. Schebler's got a chance for 3. Nope, he's going to pull up with 1 out and a double. That's a nice return to the lineup tonight by Schebler. Walk, RBI, single, run scored, now a double.
Watch where this pitch is. I mean, it's a good 2 or 3 inches off the plate. It's a backdoor breaking ball. And Schebler talked about in his rehab in AAA shooting the ball the other way. He said, I felt like I could stay on top of the ball and drive the ball the other way. Well, he did it right there.
All right, so here's the number 8 hitter, Barnhart. You know, the last game that Robert Stevenson started, Reds were in Pittsburgh. They had a 2-run lead with 1 on and 2 outs in the 6th inning. Stevenson had thrown 81 pitches in the game. And Brian Price took him out of the game. Tonight, there's already a pinch hitter standing in the on-deck circle. That's Jesse Winker. Stevenson's pitch count stands at 75. The Braves have the number 8 and 9 hitters, and rolling over to the top of the order due up in the bottom of the inning. That'll be the second out with Schebler advancing on to third base.
Well, I think this move here for Brian Price is about trying to do whatever he can to build some semblance of confidence in Robert Stevenson. You get a start of 5 innings, you give up 1 run. Was it a perfect start? No, but the numbers look good, and it makes you feel good about yourself if you're Robert Stevenson. Same thing tonight. There were some things that didn't quite go well, but you leave the ball game on a high note, and that's the way that you build confidence.
So here's Winker, who started the game last night. He had 2 hits, including a solo home run, robbed of a 3rd hit on a great play made by Freeman. Runner at third with 2 away, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike on Jesse Winker.
Tehran likes to use that backdoor breaking ball, but I would think for Julio Tehran, never in his wildest imagination did he think that Schebler would go out there and get that ball off the plate and drive it the other way. That's a pitch you throw out, you're thinking they're going to roll over it out in front.
Braves have action in their bullpen for the first time. A long-time veteran, Jason Mott. He have now the graying beard. How about that? We know the feeling, Jason. That'll get through, and this will bring in another run for the Reds. And that'll make it a 5-2 game. Reds will take that any way you can get it.
It's a big run right there. Slider in the dirt.
So a 5th run scored by the Reds in this game, and it's a 3-run lead once again. Second time the Reds have led by 3, and there's a walk, and that might be all for Tehran. The spot, though, is due up. We'll see. They may stay with him since his spot is due up second. Only thrown 107 pitches, and he's facing Billy Hamilton, who he's handled 3 times tonight. They're going to stay with him, looks like. 3rd walk by Tehran. So the official numbers on Stevenson are 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned. He walked 3 batters, hit a batter, and struck out 3. Tehran appears to be leaking oil a little bit here in this inning.
He is definitely out of gas. Really trying to stay on the outside part of the plate to these left-handers.
It's one thing about Tehran. They have him signed through 2019. He's having a down year this year, but he'll give you innings and he'll give you plenty of pitches. And, you know, he'll have the bad start, really bad start from time to time, but he'll take the ball. And it's not looking in the dugout. You haven't seen any of that during this whole sequence. And if you really pay attention, you watch a lot of pitchers there, a lot of guys looking in that dugout. We saw one just the other day. And that is a real nice play and right by Markakis to get Tehran through the inning. The Reds get a run. Started with a one-out double by Schebler, who scores on a wild pitch. And the Reds lead is back to 3 after 5.5.
Telecast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, cheer on the Redlegs. They take on the Pirates a week from tonight, the 26th. Arrive early. If you're one of the first 20,000 fans through the gates, you take home a Homer Bailey bobblehead featured in a camo jersey. Thanks to our good friends over at Coca-Cola. Catch all the action for as low as $12. Visit Reds.com. Stevenson out and taking over, who held a spot in the Reds rotation for a short while, went back in it after throwing the ball brilliantly out of the bullpen, and that's where he pitches out of the pen tonight, is Asher Wojciechowski.
The number that I love about Wojciechowski is the 9 walks in 48 1/3 innings. He's aggressive, he's coming at you, and I think that's one of the things that he carried over into the rotation in his few starts, pounding the strike zone.
And the first pitch is a base hit into center field off the bat of Swanson, the number 8 hitter. So he's aboard to start this 6th inning with the Reds leading by 3. Lane Adams will now come on and bat for Tehran, who goes 6 innings, allowed 8 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned runs. He walked 3 and struck out 7. Well, the leadoff man aboard against Wojciechowski in this Atlanta 6th. 2 balls and no strikes on Adams.
Now, when you start an inning in the bottom of the order, and those 7, 8, 8, 9 batters get aboard, and you turn the order over and you go back to the top, that normally portends a big inning for the opponent. And the Braves have done well coming back late in ball games, at least scoring runs late in ball games.
Straightaway center field. Hamilton to the track and has room, is back. Raising the wall. That one was hit a long way by Lane Adams.
That one gave me a little bit of pause when I saw Hamilton look up, check the wall, and look up again. Normally, he's in cruise control when the ball goes up. New ballpark. Maybe that's why that happened.
By 1 away in the inning, and back to the top of the order in Ender Inciarte. Inciarte came in rolling. I mean, among the very hottest hitters in all of Major League Baseball to this series, including a 2-homer game 2 days ago in Denver, where he also walked twice and stole 2 bases. He had an infield hit and another single last night. 0 for 2 tonight. Knocked in a run with a sac fly in the 4th. Trying to become the first Brave since Marquise Grissom with 200 hits in a year. They get one, and they are just short on doubling up into Ciarte. A little bit of loft on that feed from Peraza to Jeanette perhaps cost him.
Ball hit quite sharply. Peraza goes to the backhand, and you're right. As he turned to flip the ball to Jeanette, didn't quite have a whole lot on it, but a very difficult play for Peraza there on the backhand spin. But they do get an out.
It will give Phillips a chance to bat with a runner on at first and 2 outs.
Just don't want to see Freeman come to the plate with a couple of batters aboard.
Phillips homered back in the 3rd inning. He's 1 for 3 and down a strike. And this ball was really struck. We're starting to talk about Phillips closing in 17 hits shy of 2,000 in his major league career, and he's also now 18 runs away from 1,000 scored. He has had one outstanding major league career. One of the best second basemen of his generation. Both offensively and defensively. There have been some guys that put up bigger numbers offensively during, this Phillips run. Robinson Cano is the first guy that comes to mind, and there are some others. But Phillips is in the top 3, 4 in just about everything. And when you throw in the glove work, I mean, he's right there with the top 2 or 3 guys over the last 10, 12 years.
Yeah, there are not many players that you could ask to hit in the number 1 spot, 2 spot, 3 spot, 4 spot, 5 spot, and still be able to produce for their given spot in the order. Brandon was able to do it.
That's a thing that really was such an unspoken or perhaps underappreciated, not by you. You just pointed it out, but you know, were paid to watch him play every day. But the fact that no matter where the Reds ever asked him to hit in the order, he went out and did it and became good at it.
If he was asked to hit leadoff, he would get on base. If he was asked to hit fourth, he would protect Votto, drive runs in.
I mean, do you think he's a Hall of Fame player? Probably not. But he has had a great major league career. And he has been a really, really good, sometimes great major league player. Or perhaps, Cowboy, you disagree. You think maybe he's a Hall of Fame guy one day?
I don't know that he has the home run numbers to get there. As far as fielding the baseball, he put a capital S in swag, and no doubt about it. Well, if you're Asher Wojciechowski here, you've got to make Brandon Phillips swing the bat. As the guy on deck, not real friendly with the game on the line and a couple of runners aboard. And that would be Freddie Freeman.
We'll do it again. Tell you, the more you start looking in some of Phillips's numbers, and we'll talk maybe more about it later, there may be some merits for more Hall of Fame consideration than I perhaps would have even thought. I mean, you're talking about a guy that has a chance, depending on how long he plays, and obviously he's still a productive player. He's got a legitimate chance to reach 400 doubles. He's got a good chance to get to 250 home runs. And he's going to knock in, if not 1,000, very close to 1,000 runs. Those are pretty good numbers. High fly ball into right. And that's a big out right there indeed for Wojciechowski. Leadoff single by the board. We go to the 7th. Reds lead by 3. Reds defense, some big outs tonight. Scooter to end an inning. And in this play by Duvall on the liner off the bat of Kemp. Reds struck for 3 of their 5 in the 4th. Suarez a run scoring single that got past the center fielder and allowed a couple of runs to score. And Schebler just hammered one into right field. And Brandon Phillips, still after all these years, closing in on 2,000 hits. And what about the move to third? Pretty sweet right there. Fair hand. Nice pick by Freeman. Jason Mott, been around forever, takes over on the mound for Atlanta.
First saw Mott as a closer in a St. Louis Cardinal uniform. Pitched out in Colorado a couple of years.
Another guy who's had a good career, bounced back from some injuries through the years.
Tommy John.
Peraza, Votto, and Duvall. This has been a quiet bunch. The first 4 hitters in the Reds lineup tonight. First 3 hitters, I beg your pardon. Hamilton, Peraza, and Votto. 0 for 10. Not reaching base once. Hamilton 0 for 4. Peraza 0 for 3. Votto 0 for 3. And the guys after them, though, have picked up the slack. Because Duvall has 2 hits. Jeanette a hit and a walk. Suarez a hit and an RBI. Schebler's been on base 3 times. Barnard has 2 hits in a game tonight.
And there have been plenty of games here lately where those first 4 batters in the lineup have just carried this club as far as runs scored, hits, home runs, especially with Cozart hitting in that number 2 spot.
Down the left field line into the corner. And that is an extra base hit for Votto. They're going to wave around Peraza. He will easily score all the way from first base on a double down the left field line. Man, he can run.
He was motoring.
And Votto drives in his 87th run on his 24th double.
Another pitch. Up and away. Not really up, but it was out over the plate. It is nothing for Votto to just shoot it right down the left field line or shoot it out of the ballpark in left field.
So now Duvall, who popped up his first time up, doubled, scored in the 4th, and the infield hit in the 5th.
You know, even on a 2-1 count, Duvall still has about a ½ inch choke up on the bat, trying to be short and quick to the baseball. Still think that's another example of Reds hitters following the lead of a veteran player in Joey Votto. You see Cozart doing it every once in a while. You definitely seen Suarez do it a lot. Duvall here in this at bat.
Three balls, 2 strikes, and a little number off the end of the bat. The thing just keeps trickling towards the second base bag. 2 away. On the third goes Votto. Coming up later on, we'll have our Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. Huge crowd here tonight. MC Hammer will be playing after the game. Boy, what a show he put on at Great American Ballpark about 3-4 years ago now. He was one of the early concerts we had after a game that have obviously continued 3 or 4 a summer now. I was talking to a couple of Cincinnati's finest policemen down on the field that night of the Flo Rida concert, and these guys were really into music, and they said that up until Flo Rida, that MC Hammer had put on the best post-game concert, they thought, all through the years. So we'll see if that still holds true tonight.
Well, MC Hammer has always been comfortable on the baseball field. Worked for the Oakland A's forever.
That's exactly right. I mean, they say the old days, and it's not an exaggeration. There are quotes that were around that say when he was doing whatever and whenever, that he was a 13-year-old kid around the A's, that Charlie Finley, the owner of the team, knew if he had to get something done, that's the kid to find to go get it done. There are legendary stories about him. I guess the story was an old Brewers infielder named Pedro Garcia gave him his nickname Little Hammer. It's a good nickname.
Well, it's hammer time now.
Yes, it is. Still going strong. Fly ball to right. Are they going to send Votto? Yes, they are. Here comes the throw to the plate. Not going to be in time, and the Reds lead 7-2. Sac fly RBI by Scooter Gennett.
Yeah, we talked about this offense when we opened the ball game, especially on this road trip. I think if you give this everyday 8 an opportunity, it's not going to happen every ball game, obviously, because you're going to run into a pitcher that's on his game that night. But for the most part, these guys are going to compete, and they're going to be able to put you some runs on the board. And if you're on the staff, especially when you're beginning the ball game, if you just give them a chance and keep them around, they're going to give you some wins.
Of course, a $100 million question when you're putting together a team payroll. And the Reds, looking ahead, they've got a lot of guys on the 4 guys on the hook for a decent amount of change next year. Everybody else doesn't have a contract, and there are some guys that are in line for pretty big raises. But the multi-million-dollar contract is how fast can the pitching catch up. That's what it's all about. Because we were talking before the game today, when you look at teams like these Braves and you look at the San Diego Padres and some others, and when you write down their lineup and the Reds lineup, you say, how in the world is this team 10 games better from a win-loss standpoint than these Reds? It's only because of one reason.
It was Michael Lorenzen's first game back after his father passed away, and it's our Miller time moment. As fate would have it, as a middle reliever, he got an at-bat, and as fate would have it even further, he hit his first major league home run. Tears in his eyes as he rounded the bases, pointed to the heavens, got a curtain call. Even teammates in the dugout were crying on this night. It was a special, special moment, and I got to admit, I'm not sure I've ever had watered up eyes at a baseball game. That night was different. Our Miller time moment.
There are a number of stories that have been written by a number of writers, including some very talented ones that write in Cincinnati about that night. There have been some other guys that have come in and made it a bigger feature article outside of C. Trent Rosecrans and Mark Sheldon and Zach Buchanan, all those guys who do such a great job covering the Reds regularly. But there are really some beautiful pieces written on that event. You have a little time to kill and you want to search up a feel-good story, and certainly a very interesting story, and the kind of life that Michael Lorenzen led growing up. A very, very different young man in college than the one we see every day at the ballpark now in terms of the way he lives his life. Wojciechowski just blows away Freeman to begin the inning.
Hard riding fastball up and away. That is the pitch for Wojciechowski for some reason. Maybe it's the way he delivers it. Maybe it's the way he hides the baseball before he comes to the plate. Hitters have a really difficult time picking that pitch up.
I'm sure the Reds would love to have Wojciechowski get to 2 innings, maybe even 3 innings. I mean, they've got 2 or 3 guys in that bullpen right now that are capable of pitching really long stretches of games, with Adelman down there in the bullpen now and Wojciechowski. So they've had to burn through so many relievers, and especially their top guys of late. Iglesias has saved 3 games in the last 4 days. Short right, Schebler will get to it. Peralta's been worked seemingly every day. Finally got an off night last night. Lorenzen had a lengthy outing a couple of days ago when the Reds gave up that 9-0 lead. He didn't pitch last night, but if you could get through the rest of this game and say, Wojciechowski for 3 innings, maybe Wood for an inning in a 5-run lead, or Storen for an inning in a 5-run lead, not use Peralta, Lorenzen, Iglesias, that'd probably be a pretty good night.
I would say so, especially with the off day Monday coming up. You don't want to sit one of your guys for 4 days out of the bullpen, but you would like to be able to give them at least a couple of days, and maybe even 3 if you're Wandy Peralta. But Peralta is your left-hander down there, and he's used to pitching on a regular basis. You want to keep him sharp, but you want to give him a little bit of recovery time.
That'll get into center field. A 2-out single by Nick Markakis. So that'll bring up Suzuki.
I was just never a big fan of having 3 days off, especially during the season, regardless of how much I had been pitching, simply because you get to that 3rd day and your arm feels so good that you overthrow, and then on the 4th day you're sore than you would have been had you pitched 2 days in a row.
That's fine line down there.
It is. That bullpen management, some guys can do it as managers and some guys cannot.
It's a 25th pitch for Wojciechowski, and we know he's more than capable. I mean, they put him in there for 2 really solid starts that he delivered for the Reds when they initially put him back in the rotation back-to-back games. I mean, he laid it all out there for you for 5 innings. Now, someone is starting to lightly toss in the Reds bullpen. We can't see it from here. We'll have our cameras check it out for you. But somebody's just playing light toss down there right now.
I think the Wojciechowski is the guy that's giving you kind of the double-edged sword. He's been able to come out of the bullpen and pitch a couple of innings of competitive baseball, but yet he's also been able to be a swingman where he comes in and starts to give you 5 innings in a spot situation. And that's a tough spot to be in. That's a hard thing to do, to be able to give length and still be able to be good in a pressure situation.
So it is Wandy Peralta. High drive in a deep left center field. And the Braves back in the game. That makes it a 3-run ball game in the 7th inning on the home run by Suzuki. This has got to be Suzuki's best game of the season. By far. And he's got some pop in that bat. That's his 13th home run.
Well, his last 23 starts coming into tonight, he was hitting at a 311 clip. He's not a 311 hitter. But he definitely went out and got this fastball. But watch the middle Barnhart. It reaches away and up. I don't know how many times I can tell you. When the catcher has to reach back towards the plate and reach up, good things usually don't happen.
Well, Mac Jenkins, quick jog out to the mound. And this is something we talked about yesterday, Cowboy, what you're talking about. For some reason, this Atlanta team, hey, they're not going to. Probably if you watch them every day, you'd feel a lot about them the way you do about the Reds. That they don't quit. And so you better keep playing.
I think if you're a manager, regardless of whether you're in first place or last place, that's what you ask of your ball club. Your talent is going to tell you whether you're in first or last, but your managerial style is what is going to determine whether your team quits when they get behind or whether they continue to fight.
The thing that's interesting about the Atlanta team continuing to fight compared to, say, the Reds team, baseball is littered with veteran teams that when they're out of a race, they start to shut it down, and it's really ugly. Really, really ugly. Now, the Braves have some young players sprinkled in, and they're getting younger as the season goes on. There's a base hit by Albies. And he's on his way to second. And he's in there with the double. All of this noise coming with 2 outs in the inning.
The Reds had pulled Votto off the line. And you see that the ball came out of Schebler's hand. Even if he comes up and throws a perfect strike bullet to second, he's not getting Albies.
All righty. Wojciechowski still searching for that final out. It's still a 3-run lead. So at the end of the day, you've got a 3-run lead. It's like coming into the game now. You got a 3-run lead with a runner at second and 2 outs in the inning. See if Wojciechowski can just get this final out in the 7th, and we move on as Matt Adams stands in the on-deck circle.
I think that's part of the reason that Peralta is up, is Brian Price knows that there is a potent weapon coming off the Braves bench in Matt Adams, who can hit the ball out of the ballpark. And if you get in a situation where you cannot get Swanson here, then you have to go to Peralta to face Matt Adams. You have no choice.
A game like last night is where the Reds really missed having a second left-hander in the game. Because if you go back to that whole sequence last night when Adams came in, and you mentioned at the time it might not be a bad idea walking or a bad thing by walking, which brought the far less power for Albies to the plate, even though you put the tying run at first by the walk.
Right.
But remember, 2 pitches before the walk, Adams hit one off that Minolta sign out there in right field, foul. If that ball is fair, it's a tie game. And that's why managers like having more than one left-hander in the bullpen. The Reds had decided they were not pitching Wandy Peralta last night. Wow. They have Peterson come in now in the on-deck circle. Threw a fastball by him, and that will retire the side. So the Braves get a couple of runs, leave a man. We're going to the 8th. It's a 3-run ball game.
Matt Whistler will come out of the bullpen here in this 7-4 ball game. And Jace Peterson will go to second base. So it appears that manager Brian Snitker will make a double switch. Albies is out of the ball game.
Tell you what, that was, how big are those runs the Reds scored in the top of the 7th inning now?
I love insurance runs.
Oh, sure. When you're leading, a lot of people call them tack-on runs. Tack-on more referring to ones that you're just starting to pull away and get out of town, and the other team is not catching up. But the Braves got those two right back. So they're down by 3. What a return to the lineup for a healthy Scott Schebler. On base. All 4 trips to the plate tonight. His 3rd hit along with a walk. His 2nd double. He scored 2 runs and knocked in a run. So that shoulder must be really feeling good.
I'll just watch the swing. There's no collapse on the backside. That shoulder gets through the ball in a hurry. When you can stay strong on the backside and drive the ball, especially for a kid like Schebler with such power, makes all the difference in the world. When you feel like you have to create power because you've got a little bit of pain or weakness in that back shoulder, you start to drop a little bit. Everything is popped up.
You know, we talked about this Atlanta team and how after a 6-12 start to begin the year, they really started to play excellent baseball. In fact, they were among the best teams in the National League for a good month and a half. From June the 1st until the 3rd week of July, they had the 4th best record in Major League Baseball. They got all the way to 500. But now it started to swing the other way, and the bullpen is a big reason why. Pitching staff, ERA, since getting to the 500 mark, they're 9-21. There you saw the numbers, 9-21 since they got to 500. And the ERA is over 5.5, and a big part of that is walking batters, and we've seen that from their bullpen the last night, and again tonight with Mott walking the first batter he faced. 1 out in the inning. Missed chance there by Tucker to advance a runner. Phillip Ervin will come up and pitch it for Wojciechowski, who goes 2. Allows 4 hits, a pair of runs earned. Strikes out 2 batters, does not walk a batter. Irvin had the big 2 days in Chicago. I mean, what a great thrill. The greatest thrill this young man professionally has ever had. Still so young, but got his first major league hit. The home run at Wrigley Field, and then came back the next day in a starting role. Had 3 hits, knocked in 4 runs, scored 3 times. Had a double and 4 runs batted in with another home run. And the home run was a huge one. That was after the Cubs had tied the game at 9 apiece. He broke the tie. Popped up, and that will be over the screen and out of play. This is one of the ballparks, you know, when Major League Baseball during the offseason had asked the teams about expanding the netting and extending the netting to the end of each dugout, first base side, third base side. You know, some of the teams screamed and said, we can't do it that fast, and then others said we're reluctant to do it because some of our season ticket holders don't want to do it. And some teams just said, look, we're not taking the chance of somebody getting hurt at our ballpark. And they went ahead and did it, and that's what they did here in Atlanta. You know, you always hear about people sitting behind the screen, but what's most interesting is the people that pay the most money, by and large, for their tickets
are behind the screen.
Are always behind the screen.
It's interesting, too, that
meaning home plate. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
The netting.
Well, they had him positioned perfectly, or that's an RBI single. 2 outs in the inning.
The netting that goes past or down the dugouts is actually angled back behind the dugout, and it looks a little different because there's a little bit of space there between the home plate area screens and then those nettings. But all that matters is that it does the job.
All right, now Billy with the runner at third. Phillips a step or two in front of the bag over at third base. Boy, this is one of those moments. He's not going to do it. I don't think he's ever done it, and he might not ever do it. But if Hamilton were a more adept bunter, forget the third base side.
Yeah, you
if he were a more adept
bunt it down the first base side, you walk down first.
Just push it by the mound, and it's over. But he's not going to do it. 1 ball and 1 strike. Billy having a little fun with Brandon there while that ball started to turn back. You know, because if it comes back and it goes inside the baseline, it's a fair ball. And so Billy was acting like he was going to keep running, and now he's going to challenge. Wow, are you kidding me?
Brandon's going to tell him about that one.
What a play by Phillips. We saw this so many times as a second baseman. Wow. Weekend ticket package. This would be something cool to do for the parents if you're thinking about doing it for your kids. Maybe they're going to school in and around in the area, all the great colleges we have in and around, and universities. You get an exclusive Reds cap branded with your school colors and the school logo. Plus, there's a portion of each ticket sold that will benefit a scholarship fund of the school's choice. Go to Reds.com/college and check it out. Wandy Peralta will be the third Reds pitcher. Reds are in front here 7-4. Atlanta bats in the bottom of the 8th inning. Ground ball to short. And Peterson can really get up that line. He made that a close play.
And not only can he run, but he's got a little fire in him as well. As soon as he made contact, he was kicking it into high gear.
God, man, he can really get up the line. Cincinnati is 0 for 3 tonight, robbed of a hit on a great play made by Jeanette, which ending the second inning. He knocked in a run with a sac fly to center in the fourth. 7 runs, 10 hits, 3 errors for the Reds, 6 left on base. 4 runs, 7 hits, an error, and 10 left on base for Atlanta. The Braves stranded 8 runners in the first 5 innings. And the Braves have stranded at least 1 in every inning. So the Reds pitchers have not had a 1-2-3 frame all night. Drew Storen throws in the Reds bullpen. High bouncer. Can Peralta get it? Yes, he found the bag. Backpedaling onto the bag.
Looked like he was going to try to catch the ball and tag the runner. And in his movement, he backed up right on top of the bag.
Glad he didn't roll an ankle on that.
You got that right.
Like Inciarte's giving it to him from the dugout a little bit, having a little fun. Base hit into left field by Brandon. That's his second hit tonight. So Phillips has had a pair of hits in each of the first 2 games of this series against his old mates. So here's a left-handed batting Freddie Freeman. It's a guy you got to go after here. You don't want to see the next guy coming up with a chance to tie this game. I'll tell you, the last 2 pitchers, well, we'll see how this bat plays out. But Wojciechowski came right after Freeman with high, tight gas and just set him down without breaking a sweat. And this is one of the best hitters in the league. Peralta starts him with high heat. Strike 1. Then a slider, a ball, and a strike. You talked about that last night, Cowboy. He
likes the ball out over the plate. He likes to lean out over the plate with his upper body as he swings and hit on that stiff front leg. You can take the ball up. You just want to get it close to him. The ball that's down and in is usually the ball that he's going to pull foul.
And there's a base hit into left field, so it will be Kemp. Now the Reds, do they make a change here? Peralta has been devastating all year long against both right-handed hitters and left-handed hitters.
They go away, and that's right in the wheelhouse of Freddie Freeman. I don't think there's anything but one swing on the mind of Matt Kemp, and that's to tie the ball game.
Well, that's not going to happen on that ground ball.
Nope.
And the inning is over. So good job by Wandy. Gave up a couple of hits. Braves have stranded 12 as we go to the ninth. Presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Of course, tomorrow, Brian Giesenslaw, Jeff Pecoro, your co-host, along with Jim Day and Jeff Brantley, a regular part of the program. And that show produced by Kent Dream Weaver, alongside Ron Millinor and Luis Castillo. How good has he been? And we get a look at Sean Newcomb, a left-hander, starting it for Atlanta tomorrow. Reds live tomorrow. We are on Eastern time here in Atlanta. We'll start at 1 o'clock, and our game coverage begins at 1:30. So we invite you to tune in. Jim Johnson, one-time outstanding closer. He's got 22 saves this year, but he's lost his job. There's a base hit by Peraza. Nothing that Dansby can do about that. Second straight time that Peraza has reached base. The other was a walk.
Yeah, you mentioned Castillo pitching tomorrow. I think the success of Castillo has really started to resonate with some of the other younger pitchers. You see a guy go out there and handle himself with poise, location. You look at yourself and you say, well, I can do that. But up until when you're young, up until you see a guy that's your age go out there and do it with regularity, and Castillo has really gotten better and better each time out. Some of the younger starters start to think, well, I don't want to get left behind. It's a great bit of competition and learning experience for that matter.
Sure. Joey started 2 and laid off. Votto retired his first 3 times tonight, a strikeout and a pair of groundouts, and had a double to drive in a run and scored in the 7th. 2-0. Atlanta bullpen in the month of July, when the season began to unravel, had an ERA of almost 6.5. And it's 5 so far here in August. And they have struggled these last couple of nights. That's for sure. Mott gave up 2 tonight. Whistler had to pitch around a leadoff double. Last night, Brothers came in, gave up a run. Jackson was extremely lucky to get out of his inning after hitting a batter and walking a batter.
Yeah, when your bullpen struggles, it just takes your hope away. And if you don't have hope of winning the game, then your competitiveness starts to wane a little bit, and it affects not only your starting pitchers, but your position players as well.
The line drive into center field with a runner going on a 3-2 pitch, and the runners will be at first and third with nobody out against Johnson to start this 9th inning.
You look at, we talked about Votto, and we've talked about how many times he's been on base. Now 63 times in his last 24 games. Those first 3 at bats, it looked like this is going to be a very difficult game for Joey Votto. But that is the essence of a great hitter. Every single at bat is a new opportunity for me to take advantage of a situation. He never gives away a pitch. He never gives away an at bat. And instead of having a game where he's 0 for 4 or 0 for 5, he's 2 for 5 here tonight. He's turned his whole night around. And in doing that, he was partly responsible for adding those 2 extra runs there in the 7th that really have given the Reds the cushion they have now.
Oh, he was a huge. He knocked in one of them and scored the other one. He was right in the middle of all of them. Adam Duvall, 2 out of 4 tonight. Is a double, has scored a run. It's a 4-pitch walk to load the bases. Johnson's not retired a batter. Well, be aboard when the Ohio Lottery post-game concert series wraps up with the Avett Brothers, a Grammy Award nominated band. Chart-topping hits will be performed live on the field at the ballpark. That's coming up 1 week from tonight. That is expected to be a huge crowd, a very, very popular band all across America. That's probably the single biggest act that this year's coming in. Flo Rida is a big name, but I guess the Avett Brothers are very well known and highly followed these days everywhere. That is Saturday night. Here's Scooter Gennett. And a high drive into right center field. A grand slam for Gennett. And that will slam the door on this one. This extraordinary year for Scooter Gennett continues. 21 home runs and 74 runs batted in for a guy who's not been an everyday player until the last 3 weeks of this season. What an unbelievable year he's having.
I mean, look at that finish. Reminds me of that Will Clark finish.
Yeah.
Used to call it a cape. Put that elbow up. Kiss that baby goodbye.
That's a 4th career Grand Slam for Scooter Gennett. It's the 3rd Grand Slam he's hit this year. Kid born and for nearly a decade, raised in Cincinnati before his family moved down to Sarasota. But in his first season with the team that he grew up rooting for his entire life, used to watch him play down at Riverfront Stadium as a little boy.
I don't have a ball.
This guy is off the charts. I've never seen a guy that's going to get, and he's going to continue to play every day. So his number of starts obviously is going to start drifting into the. There's a drive in the center field off the bat of Suarez. And that's finally the first out recorded by Johnson here in this inning.
What's surprising, Tom, is we just saw the Milwaukee Brewers make a trade for Neil Walker, so Walker could play second base. And that guy's numbers are phenomenal.
Well, he's made 75 starts. So let's say with some off days sprinkled in. Let's say just for the sake of argument he starts another 30. Okay? You tell me the last player in baseball that started, what, 105 games? Let's call it. That started 105 games in a season and hits 25 bombs with 90 knocked in. And it might be more than that for Gennett before the year's over. That's the conservative side. He's knocked in 74, and he has 21 home runs.
And this is a guy that the Reds picked up off waivers from the Milwaukee Brewers in spring training, and they are now on their second baseman, and that was their guy.
Now, in fairness, because every team's made these kind of decisions, in fairness, this wasn't even close to being the same Scooter Gennett with the Reds that he was in Milwaukee. Not even in the same galaxy.
What happens to some players is when they realize, hey, they just cut me loose. All of a sudden you realize, you know, I like playing this game. I don't want to go home.
Sure.
And you dial it up. And that's exactly what Gennett has done this year.
I mean, you can almost see the look in his eyes down there. He has to be, and he's admitted as much, you know, he's got to be very close with Jim Day. And, you know, they talk pretty regularly, as Jim, you know, really is able to do with virtually every single one of these Reds players. I mean, he's even stunned. I mean, that night of the 4 home run game, anybody would be that. But he's even talked in other games where maybe he's hit a home run and knocked in a run with a single and interviewed after the game. He's that kind of guy where he's always smiling or grinning, and you know his eyes are lighting up. There's a broken bat hit by Barnhart. He has to be, doesn't he, Cowboy, in a state of shock? I mean, come on, 21 home runs and 74 runs batted in August.
Ride the wave.
Yeah.
This game is the kind of game, and that's why you get guys that after they've been in the big leagues for 5-6 years, they start to relax a little bit, and all of a sudden their talent really takes off. It's very difficult when you're a younger player because you're trying to prove you belong. And once you figure out, okay, it's a fun game, I'm going to go back to having fun, I'm going to relax, see ball, hit ball, try to make it as simple as possible, get the sign if you're a pitcher, hit the mitt with the pitch. You get it back down to the mere basics, your talent takes back over again.
Sure.
Sometimes your brain can just make it too hard because of the competitiveness of the game.
Well, this isn't going to do much to improve on this.
The bullpen
very
ERA for the Braves.
Lofty ERA for the Braves and for Jim Johnson. I mean, this guy's really had a tough go of it. Blew 8 saves, lost his job. Remember, he didn't start the year as a closer. He earned the right to become the closer again from where he was a year ago, and then started having hard times, and Vizcaíno got it together, and now he's the man down there. And the Reds have Blake Wood now throwing in their bullpen, so we'll see him in the bottom of the 9th. Johnson saying that's if I can ever get through the top of the 9th. Kiblahan batting for the first time. Nice job by Wandy. Gave up a couple of hits, but got out of trouble. And that's all. What a 9th inning. 4 runs, 1 mighty crack of the bat from Scooter. His monster season continues for the Reds. They're trying to make it 3 straight wins. They need 3 final outs. Sports Ohio brought to you by Kroger. Stop by your neighborhood Kroger to save big store-wide. Great food, low prices at Kroger. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places. Well, this Reds offense is going places here in August. We talked about it last night before the game. Look at these numbers. They have 4 games where they scored 10 or more runs in their first 105 games of the year. They've done that in 5 of their last 19. And they have been the highest scoring team in the National League by far so far this month. Markakis bangs one into center field. First pitch from Blake Wood, who takes over on the mound. Tell you what, though, baseball's a funny game. You know, when you consider the fact the Braves have left 12 runners on base in the first 8 innings of this game, you take 3 batters, pick any random 3 you want, and it goes their way instead of your way. This could be 11-9 right now.
I agree.
But Stevenson made pitches when he had to make pitches. Wojciechowski did the same. Peralta gave up 2 hits in his only inning, but got Kemp on a harmless ground ball. It's been the story of the night.
It's all about results.
It really is. You and I were talking about this earlier today. All the other, and I'm not going to call it nonsense because it's all important. You know, these people are trying to make a living at this game, and they're trying to have people help them and figure out ways to get better in this game and all those things. But there is so much minutia and so much noise and so much time spent on, well, if we could just get the arm angle and if we get our stride and we just get our hands. Are you doing it or are you not doing it?
From the neck up.
There's a reason why they keep the stats.
Well, let me ask you this. We talked about the Dodgers when we came on the air and about how much they were winning and really setting records as far as the pace that they're on.
Right.
Nobody cares how they're winning games. What they care about is what their record is.
That's exactly
That's
right.
it.
I haven't heard one person.
Results.
That's right. And again, now you'll get into the reasons why, because, hey, look, it's our job to tell people at home, because there are some that when you're playing them 3 times, you know, over a 3-day stretch and fans are giving their time to join us here, Chris, it's our job to provide them with that kind of information. But at the end of the day.
Did you just call me Chris?
Did I call you Chris?
I think you did.
But
that's all right.
call you Bill. I'm very sorry. Cowboy, you know what I'm saying.
I
Forgive
do.
me.
I do.
Did I really call you Chris? That's the first time it's ever happened.
It's all right.
I guess there's a first for everything, so I apologize.
Well, he's the one that's normally sitting over here.
Well, I know, but you've been here a lot lately, and we've been glad to have you in here.
I have.
We've been really glad to have you. And it really gives you a break from Marty, which is the most important thing of all.
The thing I like is when I'm in here, we're winning.
That's been that way lately.
Oh, my goodness.
That is a fair ball and a 3-run home run by Matt Adams to make it 11-7, still with nobody out. Now, if you're Brian Price, you had it. I mean, you can just read his lips right there. I mean, he is just—he's like, "You've got to be kidding me." He said, "We've got a 7-run lead after scoring 4 runs in the top of the 9th. I'm going to get through a night where I don't need again Lorenzen, a rare night where I don't need Iglesias." And now all of a sudden, 3 batters come to the plate, and it's a 4-run game, and now you got to call the bullpen and say, let's get Lorenzen up and throwing.
Just in case.
We've talked about through the years, even when his career started to sort of stumble a bit with the Cardinals, he has always hit the Reds. Look at that. 7 more home runs against Reds pitching than any other team he's faced in the big leagues. Well, you say to yourself, what if the Reds don't get those 4 runs in the top of the 9th? And you're having to say that over and over and over again, just like we said it last night. Said it in the 7th inning tonight. What if they don't get the 2 runs in the 7th inning? Atlanta got 2 in the bottom of the 7th. They're going to have to bring Lorenzen in this game. Yep, here comes Brian Price. Four batters, 4 hits, 3 runs. We're back in a moment. Blake Wood, who got a big out to strand a pair of runners in a 2-run game in the 8th inning last night. Not so fortunate tonight. 4 batters, 4 hits, 3 runs. Lorenzen in. Still nobody out.
Very similar to the situation where Wood came into the ball game. It was 10-2 in Milwaukee, and the first 5 batters reached and scored. He did not retire a batter.
In there, a strike. One and two.
You and I talked earlier about how many runs the Braves score from the 6th, 7th inning on. The big leagues, doesn't matter what the score is, you still have to make pitches.
Lorenzen got ahead of Peterson at 1-2. Now the count is full. We're in the bottom of the 9th, still nobody out. The two teams have combined for 7 runs on 8 hits. And there's strike 3. Good fastball at 97 on the inside corner for out number 1.
Very similar location to the previous pitch. And I think Michael thought the previous pitch was a strike. He raised the bar just a bit. Same area right on the inside corner, and he gets the called strike 3. Good adjustment.
Fastball thrown right by Inciarte. Brandon Phillips would be next, and then you get down to Freddie Freeman. Pulled foul to get ahead 1-2.
Sometimes you watch Matt Adams hit and you wonder if he knows what's coming.
Lorenzen strikes out back-to-back hitters in Atlanta down to its final out of the night. So Phillips digging in. And a little dribbler up the third base line. Lorenzen throws, and it's too high. It looked like that ball may start to make that left turn into foul ground, but Michael had a split decision to make, and he decided to pick it up, try to get the out, and doesn't do it.
I don't think that ball rolls foul. It's on the grass. It's probably going to die right there.
All righty, you still have the tying run in this game standing in the on-deck circle. So Lorenzen's throwing the ball really well here right now. He struck out back-to-back hitters. That's a little dribbler and infield hit. Starts out Freeman, ball one.
Tied him up on a cut fastball right in under his hands after that 98-mile-an-hour heater away.
Pulled down the right field line, bending towards the corner, and that would have not been long enough to get out of here. It would have been close, but probably not. Maybe off the wall.
Yeah, that ball got in on Freeman a little more than what it looked like in the result of the fly ball. It was almost a three-quarter swing. You can see this ball really cut in. Didn't even really get a finish.
It's another base hit. And another run, so the tying run will come to the plate. The Reds are not going to use Iglesias tonight.
Well, he's pitched 3 out of the last 4 days. Right now it's Lorenzen's ball game.
So Lorenzen's come on. He struck out 2. He's allowed 2 hits, and now he'll face Matt Kemp, who has 14 home runs just coming off the DL.
Never a dull moment.
Two and one account on Kemp. Now 2-2.
That was nasty. Talk about starting a breaking ball in the middle of the plate and then getting it off the plate. That was that pitch.
Ninth inning started with a 3-run spread. Reds scored 4 in the top of the ninth. The Braves have scored 4 and still batting in the bottom of the ninth. And now the count is full. Blake Wood does not record an out in this ninth inning. He's charged with 4 earned runs on 4 hits. Three balls and 2 strikes on Matt Kemp. Tying run at the plate with 2 on and 2 out. Suarez steps on the bag, and that's the old ball game. Very nicely done indeed by Suarez. And Lorenzen gets the final 3 outs. It is not a save situation for Lorenzen, but he got 3 outs you had to have in the worst sort of